Our first tale is of people who could fly. Pilots they're called, and they're called to the sky.
Warriors with wings, they fight not with swords or spears, but with guns and bombs.
Their rockets seek their foes like a bat. Get hit with one, and that is the end of that.
Hey, I'm Zog.
And I'm Sprout. On Well Played, we go over fantastic games, what makes them great, and some of what we can learn from their design.
So, what is VTOL VR? Well, in short, it's a game where you pilot a variety of aircraft to complete objectives in single-player or multiplayer. Sometimes, the objective is simple, like a multiplayer deathmatch. Other times, it's a full-blown military operation.
So, start up your plane, get on the runway, and take off. Once you're up in the sky, that's where the fun begins. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here, and to tell you the truth, I have no idea either. I wasn't looking at the nav.
That brings us to the unavoidable truth of combat in this game. It's heavily skill-based, no matter who you're fighting. Broadly, there are 4 major types of engagement you'll run into in VTOL. Dogfights, confrontations with enemy aircraft within visual range. BVR, confrontations with enemy aircraft beyond visual range. Anti-ground targets, and anti-sea targets.
But regardless of engagement type, the most important skill is knowing how to get into the ideal range and position without being killed. In any long-ranged encounter, this usually takes the form of terrain masking, where you put the ground, usually mountains, between you and your enemy. However, in dogfights, the skill set is quite a bit different. Whether you're using guns or missiles, your goal is to get clear shot on your enemy before they can get one on you. And if you don't have obstacles to maneuver around, the best way to do that is to turn faster than them. Kill the throttle, turn downwards when possible, and predict where your enemy will be turning to.
The second most important skill is missile evasion. Obviously, terrain masking can help with this some, but you need to know what you're doing. The first step is determining if it's a radar missile or a heat-seeking missile. If it's radar, you'll hear a loud, rapid beeping before the missile is fired. If you don't, it's a heater. For heaters, kill the throttle, spam flares, and turn away somewhat. For radar, break radar lock with terrain masking and move as far away from the line the missile is traveling on as possible to avoid relocks.
No matter how good you are at dogfighting, BVR, seed, or any other form of combat, you can't win a fight you're not equipped for, which neatly brings us to our next segment, equipment.
Dogfight? Guns and AIM-9 or ARIS-T. BVR? AIM-120 and ARIS-T. SAM sights? Anti-radiation or GPS-guided missiles. Ships? Long-range cruise missiles. Lots of ground targets? Cluster bombs or Hydra 70. And we're not even getting into radar jamming. For every engagement, there's a specific missile or piece of gear perfectly tailored to it, and all of them have pretty accurate descriptions. Pick your gear wisely based on the mission briefing, and try to keep your TWR, thrust-to-weight ratio, in the green or yellow.
The multiplayer lobbies, no matter the game mode, are always a throwback to the legendary Halo and Call of Duty lobbies, only lacking the unadulterated racism. VTOL's implementation of voice chat is simple, but well done, and immersive, taking on the sound of radio chatter while in your planes. Some players take advantage of it to roleplay, where they use proper callouts, which usually just adds to the immersion.
A list of these callouts can be seen on screen, although most of these aren't commonly used. Mainly, you'll hear guns for someone firing their main cannon, Fox 2 for heat-seeking missiles, Fox 3 for radar missiles, Splash for the destruction of an enemy aircraft, and Bandit for when referring to any enemy aircraft.
However, if you're looking for something more cooperative, the 3 DLC aircrafts released to date are all 2-seaters, each with a different focus. Boundless Dynamics LLC, the creator of the game, is very consistent with the updates and DLCs. There's always a new update every month or two and a new DLC aircraft every year, each having incredible detail and major additions to gameplay. For a solo dev to achieve this is an incredible and inspiring feat.
An example. The most recent DLC aircraft, the EF-24G Mischief, not only released as a fantastic electronic warfare plane with two-seater capabilities, but also released alongside a complete overhaul for the radar system and the addition of new parts for pre-existing planes, allowing them to engage in electronic warfare, to a lesser degree.
With all that said and done, where does that leave us? What makes VTOL VR such a good game?
You've got an extremely skill-based combat suite, an unreasonably detailed list of parts to choose from, each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and applications, a fantastic multiplayer, and a developer who regularly updates the game and releases new vehicles of astounding depth and detail every year or so.
In short, it comes down to two things: dedication and detail. The developer obviously cares about this game and puts a lot of effort and passion into it, and the result is an incredibly detailed and fun game. So that's why the game is good, but what's the takeaway? What can we learn from VTOL VR?
First and foremost, it's that detailed gameplay is interesting and keeps players coming back on its merits alone. Second is that passion shows, and players can tell the difference between a game made for the sake of making money and a game made out of love for it. Third, and lastly, is the importance of keeping your scope realistic. VTOL isn't a full mil-sim game. It doesn't feature playable tanks and boats and soldiers, and if it tried, it would likely either lose the depth that makes it great, or balloon in size until it was nearly impossible for its solo developer to actually make it. Make games with depth, make games out of passion, and make games at a reasonable scope.
Our next tale is not of people who could fly, but warriors descending from the skies.
In pods of steel and self-government, they fall to the ground and spread managed democracy throughout the stars.
Helldivers are their name, and freedom is their cause.